Wilhelm Reich versus the Fascists afraid to come. Welcome to TruthDuel Official. In this video, you'll learn about the hippie icon, orgasm connoisseur, and friend of Sigmund Freud, Wilhelm Reich. You'll want to stick around till the end of this video to learn about the famous singer who personally tried one of Reich's wacky inventions. But first, I am your host, Misinformation. If you like this channel, make sure to subscribe to receive more great forbidden history, misinformation analysis, and other sentiments and ramblings that please and amuse us. And become a truth dueler, because only you can slay misinformation at its source. Get our app on truthduel.com. Let's be honest, we all think Sigmund Freud was a weird guy, right? Sure, he was a pioneer in the field of psychology, but he also snorted a lot of coke and took Oedipus Rex way too seriously.
Cocaine ruin your brain! Hey, please don't do cocaine! Hey, cocaine ruin your brain! What? Please don't do cocaine!
What if I told you that there was a man that even Freud scoffed at? A man that Freud turned his back on, calling his former protege impetuous. What could that man have possibly done to be considered a weird sex pest by the notoriously pesty Sigmund Freud? You've likely never heard about Wilhelm Reich, and the FBI would like to keep it that way. However, Reich led a radical life, even before the United States formed the FBI. Born to a wealthy Ukrainian family in 1897, Reich began exploring the orgasm at the tender age of 11, which is when he claimed to have lost his virginity to the family chef. Chris Hansen would like that chef to have a seat. As an adult, Reich studied medicine and befriended Sigmund Freud at a seminar. Reich began applying Freud's teachings to his own patients. He did this by classifying orgasms as a healing force necessary for physical and mental well-being. Unfortunately for Reich, Freud disagreed, saying Reich salutes in the genital orgasm the antidote to every neurosis. That's doctor speak for this quack thinks orgasms are the best thing since sliced bread. In all fairness to Freud, Wilhelm Reich's eccentric theories did sound like this, especially when Reich blamed Freud's cancer on sexual frustration. This begs the question, what were Reich's eccentric theories that Freud dismissed? Well, if atoms are the building blocks of matter, then the building block of Reich's theories is something called an orgone. Reich described the orgone as an omnipresent life force that traveled in currents. In order to capture the orgone, he invented the orgone accumulator and claimed it could cure all diseases. Participants would sit in the box, which was made of incredibly exotic materials such as sheep's wool and steel wool, and probably some third type of wool. American author William Burroughs sat inside the box and said, "My skin prickled and I experienced an aphrodisiac effect similar to good, strong weed. No doubt about it, orgones are as definite a force as electricity." However, it's my personal theory that Burroughs hotboxed the orgone accumulator, which TruthDuel investigative reporters tell me tends to produce an effect similar to strong, good weed.
We remember Reich's theory of orgone energy, if we do these days, mostly via his invention of the orgone energy accumulator, a large wooden box inside which the patient would sit to absorb the orgone energy, achieve orgiastic potency, and cure all manner of mental and physical ills.
If you're looking for another deceased European man who claims to have found a panacea unknown to the modern medical establishment, which is a very niche category, then be sure to check out Wizard Healer Andreas Moritz wants to banish your gallstones. Wilhelm Reich was involved with far more than magical orgasm boxes. He also created a device he believed could influence the weather. It was called the Cloudbuster, and Reich claimed it would bring rain and destroy clouds of negative orgone energy. Reich claimed his Cloudbuster was a part of a new branch of science called cosmic orgone engineering, You can find a class in cosmic orgone engineering at the same colleges that offer underwater basket weaving. Reich was also interested in philosophical and political movements such as Marxism and feminism. His personal beliefs centered around radical freedom. These included sexual liberation, but he also believed in a more holistic personal liberation. This commitment to liberty led him to study an ideology that stood in stark contrast to his own: Fascism. In 1933, Reich published a novel titled The Mass Psychology of Fascism. In it, Reich claimed that authoritarian ideologies are intertwined with sexual repression. He said that sexually repressed societies experienced anxiety when confronted with sexuality. But an authoritarian regime used social control to ease that anxiety. However, once an authoritarian government primed people to give up control of their sexuality, people easily gave up control in other aspects of their lives, ultimately handing over power to the fascists. Unfortunately for Reich, some powerful people didn't like it when the quirky orgasm man began saying things that weren't very quirky or orgasmic. Reich ran from Germany shortly after publishing his book, hiding in Norway for the duration of the war. In the United States, things weren't looking so sexy for Reich's novel either. In 1954, the FDA authorized a book burning of the novel, making it, quote, the only nationally sanctioned book burning in American history, end quote.
I don't, Hans, are we the baddies?
However, Reich's ideas about fascism still circulated. Most famously, George Orwell included Reich's connection between totalitarianism and sexual repression in the novel 1984. When the protagonist asks his girlfriend why Big Brother is against sex, she responds with, "If you're happy inside yourself, why should you get excited about Big Brother?" The connection held cultural importance outside of fiction as well. In the late 1960s, students protesting in Berlin would throw copies of Reich's novel at police, and feminists such as Germaine Greer incorporated some of his concepts into their own philosophies. In fact, Wilhelm Reich had a lot of fans. His legacy can be found in the pop culture of the 1960s and 70s, and Nirvana singer Kurt Cobain can be found in one of his orgone accumulators. Reich had other famous fans beyond Cobain. Singer Kate Bush wrote her song Cloudbusting after she read a memoir about Reich, and the orgone accumulator inspired multiple films, including Barbarella with Jane Fonda and Sleeper with Woody Allen. As you can imagine, Reich's ideas found a special home in beatnik and hippie communities. Communes that practiced free love found Reich particularly inspiring, probably to the point where the entire commune was one gigantic orgone accumulator. Perhaps the last type of wool needed in an orgone accumulator is the woolly dreadlocks found on a hippie's head. Unfortunately for the hippies and other free spirits, Wilhelm Reich didn't share their affection. He didn't particularly enjoy beatnik culture, as he considered himself a man of finer tastes. Reich enjoyed 19th century culture such as Wagner and Ibsen, which connected him to his European heritage. Ultimately, Reich's legacy is a muddled one. Some people admired him as a countercultural icon, whom federal agents persecuted throughout his lifetime. Others saw him as a visionary trying to educate the masses about personal liberation and happiness. And some just saw him as the silly orgasm man who thought you could come your way out of cancer. Sigmund Freud probably falls into this last group. Silly Freud. Plenty of people look at you the same way.
It says more about the history of Western popular culture in the last 50 years that we remember the orgone accumulator and the cloudbuster, where we don't remember Reich's early social and political writings.
Do you think Reich was onto something when he connected fascists with sexual repression? Do authoritarians suppress others because they're scared of their own desires? Or was Reich searching for a provocative explanation that doesn't properly explain totalitarian behavior? Leave your theories in the comments below to please and amuse us. Misinformation wishes you well and reminds you that an orgasm a day keeps the doctor away. P.S. Does a modern-day orgone accumulator actually work?
I think at one point I was kind of just like zoned out.
It feels like tingly in my chest. That's weird, actually.
My fingers kind of feel a bit tingly now, actually.
I felt really calm, but then also I had like a sense of energy.
My energy and the energy in the box was just like one.
Until next time, make sure to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and become a truth dueler, or all your orgones will be all gone.